So Falling in Reverse have a brand new single entitled God is a Weapon, and it's actually some of their best material in a while, but that does not mean that it doesn't have a lot of very big issues to it. Listen, I was a big op for Popular Monster. It was a cringe fest, it was a snooze fest, it was massively unself-aware, it was overproduced to oblivion, and Ronnie's outrageous self-righteous attitude across that record and provocative nature was just boring as fuck and so uninspired. And in general, obviously, I just don't really like or respect Ronnie as a person, but with that being said, I can always separate my own opinions on it and say that number one, Ronnie's a pretty damn talented vocalist. He has a really good range to him. Generally speaking, I think when it comes to cinematography, Falling in Reverse do a great job, and when the production isn't overreaching to try to feel so mainstream, it can actually be kind of catchy and good. He's a decent chorus writer. A lot of his collaborations, although they don't pan out sometimes, are sometimes fine, and I'm not even that harsh on the hip-hop elements that he's put into Falling in Reverse throughout the years. If anything, I've thought it's been some of the most interesting additions to Falling in Reverse as a brand, as a unit. So this isn't going to be a video of me just saying, I fucking hate Ronnie Radke and he is a douchebag, which he absolutely is, and I'm just going to be talking about this song. And this is Falling in Reverse going full-blown industrial metal and industrial rock. It is being branded as just a Falling in Reverse track, but this track actually features Marilyn Manson on it, and from the get-go, this track just bleeds with Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson snare work, production work, everything about it's very claustrophobic and intentionally insulated, and that is pretty much what the entire track is. It feels like peak Manson, it feels like Downward Spiral era Nine Inch Nails, but just without a lot of the bite. Manson sounds fine across this track. I think his vocals are very crisp, and I feel like Ronnie tries his best to balance that out by being ominous and spooky and eerie himself to a kind of lesser effect, in my opinion. I feel like it is a little corny that he tried so hard to match the energy of Manson. Obviously, no one is Manson. I would say this is some of the best material Falling in Reverse has come out with in a while. It eclipses anything that was on Popular Monster, in my opinion. I feel like the production is not nearly as cornball as Popular Monster, and considering this track isn't really about Ronnie's self-obsession and how much of the world hates him, I actually like the lyrics a lot more. But with that being said, that is an incredibly low bar because I hated the lyrics on Popular Monster, thought they were some of the dumbest lyrics I heard that entire year, and this track isn't necessarily that much better because I feel like it is incredibly on the nose. The issue with trying to do a Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson-esque song and being the king of all genres like Ronnie clearly wants to do, and getting Manson on your track is you got to be in some way offensive or provocative. That was the entire point, and this track falls flat. I was not scared by this track. I was not moved by this track. This track tries incredibly hard to encapsulate the essence of Manson. It even gets Manson on the track, but the tension that is built is not necessarily there. And it's not that it has to be like blasphemous and provocative, but it is very obvious that that's what Falling in Reverse was going for on this track. Everything from Ronnie trying to match the energy of Manson to Manson being on the track, the production, the general instrumentation, the chorus, the way it is very understated and never really reaches a boiling point. It always just stays kind of stagnant, but not necessarily in a bad way. The entire pull that made the 1990s industrial rock and shock rock scene from Rob Zombie and Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson was the fact that they were willing to sort of push the envelope of experimentation within music. Kind of similar to what like No Wave did back in the day, especially in the New York scene. It was all about being atonal. It was always about sort of being weird, not being bound to one specific idea and not trying to be sort of commercially viable. And I feel like this track, while it is trying so hard to be like the 90s, it feels so damn modern and so sanitized and so squeaky clean and so groomed for modern rock and metal radio. And to be honest, as a statement, this could have been a lot more grandiose in terms of bringing Manson on the track and having sort of prime Manson back, because I think his vocals do feel a lot like that, although they are very similar to like the Heaven Upside Down. Regardless, there could have been a really cool narrative about this and bringing Manson kind of back in the limelight. People never stopped caring about him, but he's fallen off the radar, and people have been saying for years that he has lost his edge, that he's not as provocative and ferocious as he once was. And maybe a part of that is just people becoming desensitized to shocking things on the internet and specifically shocking music, but it obviously doesn't help the case that this is one of the most sanitized performances from Manson, one of the most understated performances by Manson. He doesn't get much of a chance to breathe across this track, he is just following suit with the same verse format that Ronnie does in the first verse and copycats a lot of the lyrics, just changes them up a little bit. And while the lyrics are better than Popular Monster, albeit that being an incredibly low bar to exceed, they are pretty on the nose, they are pretty tongue-in-cheek. It is incredibly obvious to me what Ronnie was trying to do, but even though they were trying to capture that 90s vibe, this wouldn't even fly as a B-side of a B-side of a B-side Manson song. But in the end, the chorus is kind of catchy, the production is not nearly as tacky as it has been in recent memory, and I'm happy to see Manson collaborating and that sort of stuff. It also makes sense that Manson would hop on a problematic artist song. He's always kind of been the type to give a big middle finger to people who doubt him or talk poorly of him, and Ronnie would know all about that. So it's fine, it's passable, but I unfortunately just wasn't really getting that far behind it. I listened to it 2 or 3 times in a row, and I was like, this track's fine, it's better than Popular Monster, but in no way, shape, or form should it be nearly as praised as it's currently getting, in my opinion. And the praise seems to go more towards Ronnie as a person as opposed to the music itself, because take a shot every time you see a comment about this song that's like, this song is great, keep making the haters angry, Ronnie. And it's like, his brand as a problematic person is something more important to a lot of people than the music itself, and the support of them reminds me so much of how people act about like fucking Andrew Tate. But I won't get into like Ronnie as a person. I plan on doing a whole ass deep dive of him eventually. What are your guys' opinions of this song? You can let me know down in the comment section below your opinions on it. Agree or disagree, there is no wrong answer. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is G Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.